How a candidate can be worthy.
Okay.
Now, $1 million question.
Mhm.
How do I negotiate my pay?
Negotiation of pay. So, insider insight is,
Is it really important for a person to earn more to know AI?
I would like to take the perspective of.
What are the most exciting jobs a person can get knowing AI and data science?
So, the thing is,
Maximum hike in a very short span of time. Have you ever seen like that?
so a person in the tech field, if they are taking up Gen AI,
Okay, and there is a buzz related to how an AI can be a threat to the future generation
Mhm.
or to even the human. So, how do you see that?
Okay, so there are two misconceptions actually.
But why is it that companies that have export revenue more than billions give such little pay to IT employees? Doesn't it make sense to pay them a little bit more when they work on 10 or more projects simultaneously?
Hello, I'm Madhu. So today I'm going to talk with expertise regarding data science and AI. Dinesh Academy is providing the course of data science and AI. We have consultant from Dinesh Academy. Hello, sir.
Hi, Madhu.
Hello. So we know you're consultant of Dinesh Academy,
Mhm.
but just give us an overview of what you do in Dinesh Academy as a consultant.
Yeah. So, Dinesh Academy, we see that we have a lot of candidates
Mhm.
who are applying here for certificate courses to gain knowledge on the aspects of data science and AI, something that is being trending worldwide right now. And as a consultant here, I try and train the candidates and help them seek placements in the industry.
Recruitment in today's market is very difficult, even for the interviewer and the candidate. So, what do you think the candidate can be worthy? How a candidate can be worthy?
Okay. So, Madhu, to answer this question, firstly, I'll take you through the cycle that I follow once, there's a job post out. So once a job post has been made, I typically, do it on sites like LinkedIn or Naukri. And then I typically receive about 150, 200 applications for a single opening.
Okay.
That could be something like a front-end developer, back-end developer, or full stack. And when I receive 200 applications, these applications are subjected to uh, the application tracking system. In the application tracking system, we compare the JD that we floated with the resume of the candidate, and the keywords are matched. And then, we get a priority as to whether this person is a high match, is a medium match, or a low match, based on which we conduct the interviews. By the time I conduct the interviews, I would be having about 50 people for whom I'd be conducting the interviews.
Okay.
So now you can see that for a single position, 200 people have applied, for
Mm.
which I've interviewed only 50 people.
Mm.
So, the application to interview ratio is something that is a little off. The number of people that are looking for jobs in the market to the number of people who would actually maybe find it. So
Okay.
that is the reason why it would be difficult for a candidate. And at the same time, to process these many interviews, it would also be difficult from a recruiter standpoint, even though we are getting help from an ATS, which also is an application of generative AI.
Okay. So, how do you filter from the 50?
So to filter from the 50, I typically follow a process wherein I try and understand whether the person who's applied for the job is aware of the role. The first thing,
Okay.
the person is aware of the role.
Mm-hmm.
Once I, clear that box off, I look into the second aspect, whether the
Mm-hmm.
person understands the firm that they applied for.
Okay.
Yeah. And the third thing that I look into is the aspect of self-awareness.
Mm.
It could be something like, strengths and weaknesses on these lines.
Okay.
Once you are having some amount of self-awareness, you're also a person, who's prepared.
Okay.
All these three aspects, when you're ready, you're a person who's prepared. So let's say if I want to enter the IT field, just after my graduation is done, if I pick up a course, a certification course, and also at the same point in time, I'm working on multiple projects or internships, this demonstrates my interest in that particular field.
Mm.
So here you're understanding what exactly is it that I want, and you're putting effort into that direction. So I'd also say that when you're bringing these three things to the table, you'll have to back it up with some solid evidence. That is when I understand that you're not bluffing me, but you're truly interested in that particular role.
Okay, so much is there.
Yeah.
And candidates should be very aware of everything, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So generally there are misconception on what is AI.
Mhm.
So would you like to clarify it?
Definitely. See, when we are speaking about AI, we are typically referring to a prediction model or something like a prediction algorithm. The way that it is interpreting data, it is something, that is different. There are a lot of related fields, something like, you have machine learning, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
you have data sciences.
Okay.
They are also giving some predictions. For instance, I'd like to cite a study that I went through somewhere in Africa where they have a lot of wheat production.
Wheat.
Yeah.
Okay.
In wheat production, you have different kinds of rust which can occur.
Mm-hmm.
Something like stem rust, leaf rust.
Mm-hmm.
And typically, when this occurs, you would have, 90% of the crop which is destroyed completely
Okay.
beyond any further use.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the data scientists in that particular region, they were able to, perform this aspect of data mining, wherein they collected data from the agricultural department as well as the meteorological department, and then basically they followed that whole procedure. It could be something like 80-20 ratio, and they were able to bring about a concrete model which was able to predict when exactly is a particular kind of a rush going to occur.
Mm.
This is something that would give some time for the farmers to react.
Mm.
So this is something that can be seen as an application of a data science tool, an algorithm in that sense. But when you're speaking specifically about generative AI, it is something, wherein it is a softmax function or a mini soft function. I do not recollect the exact term. But here it is giving you the most probable word
Mm-hmm.
that should be filled out. It generates word by word. That is why the term generative AI.
Mm.
So it generates word by word, word after word. What is the next most probable word that should come after a particular word? This is how generative AI works. And this, when it forms a sentence, it is something that can be comprehended by a person. And in this regard, I think the industry has made some critical developments which could have impact for the next decade or so. In the
Okay.
last 2-3 years is what I feel.
Okay. And there is a buzz related to how an AI can be a threat to the future generation
Mhm.
or to even the human. So how do you see that?
Okay, so there are two misconceptions actually. One, that AI has conscience.
Okay.
So when we are sitting here, we're having a conversation. You know, it is more of a conscious thing. Like humans have feelings, but
Mm-hmm.
AI, on the other hand, it doesn't have feelings. It is just an algorithm. It is something you're asking it a question, it is responding, but it does not have that feelings or emotions, emotional aspect to it. And coming to the second misconception on AIs, it is AIs will take your jobs away, and I disagree with that. Like a while ago we were discussing on ATS.
Mm-hmm.
ATS is an application of AI, and when you say that ATS is going to take away my job as a HR recruiter, I would maybe not agree. Uh, and in this sense, it is something that would augment human decision making.
Mm-hmm.
It would not replace it completely or
Mm.
entirely. It is just here to make our decisions better.
Is there any particular format for preparing a CV so that it can be get shortlisted by ATS?
There is something known as the ATS compliant resume, which is available in the market.
Okay.
You can, download that format and,
Oh.
present your information in that particular manner. Because when ATS is reading your resume, it goes word by word. It tries to understand what exactly is there. It tries to
Okay.
match some keywords which are present in the JD. For instance, let's say I'm looking for a front end developer. I could be writing something like communication skills. I could be writing about some particular softwares. When I'm writing these things, it tries and sees how many times this particular keyword is getting reflected in the person's resume.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if your resume in the first place itself it is not compliant or it is compliant, the ATS would not be scanning the resume properly. And that is where you should look for ATS compliant resume formats and then fill out your resumes in that particular manner.
Mm. Mm. So, is it important that we have to know to do a CV? Is it important, or AI can generate it also?
Resume definitely can be generated by a generative AI. You can say Bard or ChatGPT, Gemini, same thing,
Mm-hmm.
Bard and Gemini, or Copilot. You have n number
N
of
number of.
these generative AI tools in the market. But what I'd say is, as long as you're not reading the JD, what exactly is written in the JD.
Mm.
So let's say if I would like to present myself as a front-end developer, I ask
Mm.
the generative AI to just go and give some points on it. But generative AI should, get those inputs from me first.
Mm.
What exactly did I do in the past? What did I
Okay.
study? What are
Mm,
the
mm,
skills that
mm.
I've attained? So, it can only do that once you're presenting all this information.
Okay.
And also, if you're not giving the JD input, then what happens is, you might miss out on the keywords. So you
Mm-hmm.
might get a CV or a resume out of it, but whether that is a good match on the ATS is something that only ATS can tell. So,
Okay.
yeah.
But can ATS predict the personality of the candidate?
Okay. See, on the personality aspect, we have different assessments which are conducted.
Mm-hmm.
Aptitude tests, and
Mm-hmm.
then you can say personality tests as well. You have MBTI, for instance, in psychology. This is something that is administered on candidates, or
Okay.
these kind of things. They would bring out what exactly a person would potentially do given a particular situation. But ATS, on the other hand, it just looks whether this person is, professionally suitable or not.
Mm.
Whatever that they've written on their resume, it is putting into, words what exactly is it that they bring to the table. It doesn't speak about personalities, so no. That
Okay.
aspect is something that should either be determined through personality assessments
Mm-hmm.
or through the interview itself.
Done. Got it.
Yeah.
So when I was studying in my college, professors always, tell me to go for internships. Like
Mhm.
internships is very important. You have to do intern so that in competitive market, if you go with the prior experience of even a 1 month, it's a big deal. Okay. So is it internship really important in today's world?
Yes, I would, definitely agree with that. You could be studying a number of things in your academics, be it bachelor's, master's, anything that you wish to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a certification course that you take up as well.
Mm.
But your real understanding would, come from the field.
Mm.
Once you put it to use, whatever you've learned, once you put it to use, you'll feel that, there could be some discontinuity between what was taught and maybe, what you experience, because there is this aspect of, real world factors that come in.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with people who have emotions, they're subjective. What you might like, I might not like. So when you try and, get that experience, let's say, for instance, someone is looking for a sales job.
Mm.
Once they go out, they try to do a few sales. That is when they understand, how exactly what they've learned in their course
Mm.
pans out in real life. So it also gives you some amount of experience that you carry on the table whenever you go for a next job. This is something that you can present.
Mm.
Your understanding. So that is what I'd say.
Okay. What's your perspective on recent layoffs in IT sectors?
See, recent layoff, I would not say. Uh, see, whenever you're speaking about the business world,
Mm-hmm.
the business world is bound to have business cycles,
Mm.
business ups and downs. So when I say business ups and downs, something like, inflation in the market or something like that. When we are speaking about this, let's say the market prices of a commodity increases. Once that happens, what happens is the demand would fall. The number of people buying that particular product, it falls.
Demand.
Yes. And once that demand is down, what would happen is companies would try and reduce their production.
Okay.
Once that happens, when production is less, why is it that companies would want to have more resources working on production?
Mm.
And that is when layoffs start. And I'd say the same thing is something that I observe with the, employee market as well, or the employment market, I'd say.
Mm.
The same thing I observe with the employment market. Every now and then, businesses have ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
That is when you more or less likely you see mass layoffs that take place.
Okay. So I have a doubt.
Mhm,
Generally, in companies,
mhm,
people, if you are HR,
mhm,
if the company asks you to lay off people,
mhm.
who will be your first choice?
See, now that is a difficult question to answer, definitely.
Okay.
But the first thing that I would look into as a HR, from a HR standpoint, is the non-performing people for me.
Okay.
Someone who's not yielding me, any business output.
Mm-hmm.
These are the first people who are likely to go from any level of hierarchy,
Okay.
from any business domain. It could be operations tech, or it could be maybe even HR,
Mm.
for that matter.
Ayyo.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the non-performing ones are the ones, and also the non-yielding ones, the ones who are not bringing out any business output for me.
Okay.
This is the standpoint that I take.
There are interviews happening again and again.
Mhm.
In a month, maybe they put up 2 or 3 posts for the opening, but the hiring process also happening. The interview is happening, all the rounds they've cleared, but there is no recruitment. There
Mhm.
is no ahead of it. Why the big companies does this?
See, there could be two potential explanations to this. One, they're not really having any open positions in the
Hmm.
market. The reason why they're doing it is because they need to be, they need to understand the employment trend. Because once they have a position,
Oh,
they understand what exactly is a candidate looking for. Let's say if I give them flexible work options, is it something that candidates are looking for? Is that a factor in them, deciding to take up a job or not? So these kind of employment trends is one aspect. Second aspect, maybe they are not able to find the suitable skill set in the candidates that they're interviewing. When I say an ATS match, I'm speaking about a high match and a medium match. That typically these are the people who are interviewed.
okay.
Let's say I do not find any suitable talent in these two sets. Then I put the job post again so that I can get new applications for the high match and medium match. So
Okay.
everyone in the previous applications could be potentially rejected. So these are the two reasons.
Basically, they're doing a SWOT analysis for themselves,
Could be.
like analysis,
Yes, 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 yes. So that
Okay.
just so that they are in the market as a good employer.
Okay. And I want to know that you've interviewed many people, 500 plus interviews you have done.
Mhm.
Most unusual or unexpected questions they'll ask you, know.
Yeah,
At the end, you'll be like, okay, we'll select this candidate, but then he asks a very unusual or unexpected question. Any incident like that?
yeah. See, when I say that I've conducted over 600, 700 interviews.
Okay, I told
Yeah,
less.
yeah, it's okay, 500
Okay.
plus. So when I did that, most of the times candidates hesitate from asking the question. They might come out as something that would maybe not impress me or something on those
Okay.
lines. And other times there are candidates who would be asking questions like, is there an opportunity for self development? Something that feels, that is not very genuine. But there was this one question from a candidate, which I'd say, is something that I started asking whenever, I'm giving an interview at a company. Then I start asking this question because that was the level of interest that this candidate was able to generate through this
It
question.
was a good,
Yeah,
unusual
it,
one.
it was a good, unusual
Okay.
question, which was, what is your take or what is your feedback on the way that I presented myself in this particular interview? Usually, people are, concerned about questions such as, is there a scope for self-development? What are the perks like in the office? Is there a cafeteria? All these kind of questions that we get are usual. But a person who is interested in, self-development, the aspects, by asking it upfront, this is something
Mm.
that impressed me that day. So,
He's
yeah.
analyzing himself for the next role, I guess.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it is a good one.
Yeah, because you're giving a number of interviews, and if you're able to identify any flaws,
Mm.
and you're asking another person about it,
Mm.
what is it that I like or dislike about the way the interview
Mm.
went? Then maybe you can, uh, you know, impress me in that manner, or you can improvise yourself for the next interview that you're sitting for. So,
Okay. Now a $1 million question.
mhm.
How do I negotiate my pay?
Negotiation of pay. So, insider insight is that you have a range that is there for a particular job. Usually a range, a CTC range. And you would be having a number of components such as your education or your exposure, experience at different firms. All these things, the number of years of experience, maybe all these things which could bring some value to you as a
Mm-hmm.
person. What is that uh, you would say USP or the unique selling proposition? So what is it exactly that you bring to the table which is unique in hundreds of candidates?
Mm-hmm.
When you're having that, I think that is when you can go ahead and negotiate. When you feel that you deserve more than the figure that was shown to you,
Okay.
that is when you can go ahead and you can maybe say that this is not the figure that I'm looking at. A lot of times what happens is this figure is also not disclosed. So a lot of companies, what they do is they say hike on your previous salary or as per industry standards.
Okay.
Once that is done, you do not know till the final round when you're sitting with the HR. That is when you realize, you need to negotiate your pay or understand the pay.
Mm.
So it's a lot of time waste, is what I would feel.
Mm.
Sitting till the last round and then maybe you are wasting the time of the interviewer.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're wasting the time of themselves as well as, you are sitting and giving your interview for no return. So, yeah.
Good. So, generally,
Mm-hmm.
when you want to hire a person
Mm-hmm.
for a role which has both techie and soft skills together, how do you evaluate the both? How do you take a difference between the both? At the same time, you have to see their personality also, the techie skills, soft skills, everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
how do you handle it?
Definitely. So again, I'll go back to the role of full stack developer. So now this person could be a client facing role, more likely. So when I'm speaking about a client facing person, I would expect, good communication skills, something that, is grammatically correct, maybe.
Hmm.
And when I'm doing that, I would, prefer something like a personality assessment, wherein I could also, put in something on vocabulary, these aspects. And apart from this, what I try and do is, give them some situational question. How would you are dealing with a client, and the
Hmm.
client is like, I've been working with this company for a long time.
Hmm.
I've been here with your company. I've been a client for about 3 years, 4 years.
Hmm.
Would you give me a discount? This is a question I'd put across the candidate to see how they try and answer this particular question. This brings about the aspect of whether this person is good with interpersonal skills or not,
Mm-hmm.
and how exactly are they suitable in that particular role. This is the communication aspect. Coming to the technical aspect, we have the tech team, which basically kind of gives out assignments and
Aptitude.
yeah, so that the person, whether they're suitable or not, on a comprehensive front, is something we try and identify.
Nowadays, in whichever role we are in a company, we have to learn AI. So even people who are working 10 years, 20 years, who have seen you most, now learning AIs. So why is AI so important? And the person who did AI masters or a specialized course in AI will get high pay.
So the tech industry, if you think about it, 20 years ago, you would have a number of coaching centers in the aspect of Java, C++. But a lot of these technologies would be outdated in today's world. Though it is still something that people extensively train on, it is something that is still a little outdated. Back then, it would have landed you a high paying job.
Mm-hmm.
But today, the trend in the market, something that is booming, it is the Gen AI and other forms of AI, data science as well, data visualization, even maybe. This is something that would help you find a high paying job, is what I would believe in. Even if initially you find it difficult to land a high paying job, in the time being, your career trajectory would be such that you'd be able to find a job which is paying well. So, yeah.
So I've been seeing in social media that how people getting paid when they know AI in lakhs and who doesn't know in thousands. So your perspective on that, is it really important for a person to earn more to know AI?
I would like to take the perspective of a social scientist as well on
Mm-hmm.
this. So, when the Industrial Revolution was taking place, People said that machines would, perhaps replace humans.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it did replace humans, but only in the aspects where it is tedious, like fixing bolts or something like that. That doesn't require,
Correct.
your creative effort or something like that. And I believe it is a similar situation with AI. Here, it is trying to take away something that, where you're spending non productive time. But at the same point in time, it is considering the human element of what you bring to the table in generating responses and making your work presentable and also quick. So, it is in turn improving the productivity. Now, this is something that productivity is something that companies would desire. And that is why a person who understands AI and is able to implement in their work would end
Okay.
up in a high paying job.
Okay. They make it more smarter, I
Yes,
would say,
yes,
and in a very less span of time.
definitely. They would just augment your work. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So many freshers now graduate fresh out of the college with more techie skills.
Mhm.
But a HR or a company seek soft skills as well.
Mhm.
How to communicate, be it interpersonal skills, be it networking skills, which is very less in today's generation. What do you think of it? When you see a candidate, he should be techie and he should have some soft skills, right? So, how do you tell them to prepare for that?
When we are speaking about soft skills, this is something that some people would find it comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
be it, how they've been raised or
Yeah.
the education that they've received. Some people would find it comfortable, some people would not find it comfortable. For the ones that, they do not find it comfortable, I'd say that, go through newspapers, something like that. Your reading skills would improve there.
Mm.
Try and speak with people in English. This also, would maybe potentially improve your communication skills. And on the interpersonal aspect, try to convey your points in a crisp manner. This again is an aspect where I feel people can work on.
Okay.
And every now and then, take some grammar tests so
Nice.
that, you can implement all of these together to improve your soft skills.
Okay. So now I'd like to know what are the most exciting jobs a person can get knowing AI and data science?
Okay. So the thing is, when you speak about, let's say, the HR industry, I gave you a demonstration of what the ATS is.
Mm.
Let's just look into the other aspects of what, ChatGPT or something like a generative AI can do
Mm-hmm.
for a company.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a company, I would be having a number of HR policies. Something, right from gratuity or PF. It could be something on the office code of conduct, maternity policy. All these things are provided to the employees, but they do not go through them,
Okay.
and they approach the HR only when they are in, requirement of using that particular policy, and the HRs are not always available, and that is where Gen AI comes in. A lot of firms have deployed chatbots. You go to, you find the chatbot. Okay, you go to any company site as well. You'll find their chatbots, which would go through that particular policy and would
Mm.
answer your query without you having the need to go to a HR who might
Okay.
be occupied elsewhere. Now
Mm-hmm.
take this thing and scale it up. You'll find its application in the medical industry today.
Mm.
AI and and generative AI is able
Mm.
to predict whether a person could be susceptible to cancer. During the time of Corona as well, some of the applications of ML,
Mm.
for instance, were in predicting whether a person would, likely get Corona or not.
Is
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
How?
That was in the aspect of ML.
Okay.
So see, there are a lot of background things that happen there. So you have data mining. So first they collect a lot of data, and data cleaning is done there. And subsequently, what happens is they run it through certain softwares. For instance, I recollect J45 algorithm is one of them, if I'm not wrong. Being a HR, I cannot be so confident on technical aspects, but yeah. And once that was done, they subjected to 80 to 20 tests or something on these lines,
Mm.
wherein 80% of the data they are trained on. The
Okay.
algorithm is trained on. It tries and understands the patterns, and it tries and builds relations between these patterns. Then it could uh, potentially predict what will exactly happen next. The next patient who comes in, or on someone who's likely awaiting some kind of an evaluation,
Mm-hmm.
once their factors are entered, it can give a prediction. whether this person is likely to get corona or not. So yeah,
Okay, that's huge.
yeah.
And even I think HR now has to know a lot about AI than the other persons, because they are the one who's going to recruit or see the future candidates over there. And what are all the essential advice you would give for the job seekers? Like if they're going to seek a job, what are all the suggestions you would give?
See, if a person is seeking a job in the tech field, I'd say one thing that they should be prepared for is to upskill them constantly.
Okay.
Upskill themselves constantly. Reason being, 20 years ago, like I said, Java, C++. 10 years down the line, you had big data.
Mm.
Now we are having, maybe ML or AI. What takes over the world after a decade is something that no one can predict.
Mm.
But then you need to have that, uh, you should have that capability to learn new things.
Okay.
And that interest in learning new things, even at the age of 35, 40, 45, you'll be learning new things all through your career. This is something that I'd say they should be prepared for.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And which is the biggest hike you've seen in a candidate who's just started? Like you've seen many people who's working with you, and one person who get the maximum hike in a very short span of time. Have you ever seen like that?
So, a person in the tech field, if they are taking up Gen AI, they can expect a hike of about 40 to 50% on their previous salaries. So, this is something that I've seen happen in the industry.
I think I should learn AI.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And there was one recent controversy regarding the working hour by one of the CEO. So, what's your take on it?
In the context of working hours, I feel companies value productivity and some companies value efforts. They're differing in their approach to this particular issue.
Mm-hmm.
But generational wise, the preference which is there, it would be different. Someone who's a little older would
Mm-hmm.
maybe prefer to work for longer hours.
Okay.
Someone who's a little younger would maybe prefer to work for lower hours so that they get the work life balance.
Mm.
So I would not say either of these sides are correct, but what I would go back to is Gen AI is something that can maybe help attain more productivity in less span of time.
Okay. So, as a HR,
Mhm.
what do you say for the people who are saying nowadays the work pressure is there is a lot of work pressure, the ambience or the culture in the company is not good, or toxic environment, toxic culture in the company? Like, why is it happening in recent days? Why are people coming up, the candidates or the people who are working, they're coming up saying it's a toxic environment nowadays?
Toxic workplace could mean multiple things for different people. It is a subjective thing. For instance, someone, if let's say there is no raise despite the efforts that they are putting in, that is something that can be deemed as a criteria for toxic workplace culture. For someone else, it could be long working hours. So to address all these aspects, the human resource from a human resource standpoint, we work on the well-being of an employee, and we try and we put in systems which as best as it possibly can, it would try and accommodate the employee in a given workplace. So, yeah.
Done. So I'm done with my questions, and I got all the crisp answers from you. Thank you so much for the insightful inputs. Now I would like to give my floor to another person who's an expert, who is going to drill you with all the deep questions and techie questions. So yes, thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Madhu.
Hello, Chidrup. I am Uplabdhi Pandey. I have a background in HR and I'm also an instructional designer by profession. I have done some curriculums. I have some understanding of the IT industry. And what I aim to understand from you is IT actually as lucrative as people portray it to be, right? Now, if you look at the recent news, the IT industry contributes almost 10% to India's GDP. Yet it has the highest attrition rate in any industry in India. What does it mean for people who are joining these companies as freshers? Should they always be prepared for something bad that has to happen to them?
Hi, Uplati. So I believe a part of your answer your question actually answers the question itself. So, wherein you're saying that 10% of India's GDP, is something that is found in the IT sector, which also means that, there is something that is disposable there. The revenue is disposable in the form of lucrative packages, etc., for the candidates. Coming to the second aspect of it, you can look at the attrition rates as, opportunities which are available, avenues which are opening up. I'm working in this company today. Tomorrow, I would want to switch to a company which is paying me better or has a better workplace culture there. So, this is my answer.
But what doesn't make sense to me is one of the biggest IT companies in India pays
Mhm.
as little as 20,000 to somebody who is an entry level fresher, right? Now, what I understand is you have hierarchies, you have grades, you have different ways of functioning in any company, right? But why is it that companies that have export revenue more than billions give such little pay to IT employees? Doesn't it make sense to pay them a little bit more when they work on 10 or more projects simultaneously?
Okay. Salary benchmarking is something that is done. Let's say when you're referring to a particular company, they would be doing their salary benchmarking by comparing themselves with 10 to 20 different other companies. For that position, what is the pay that we can offer? This is something that the company would take into consideration. The positions that you're referring to is something that is a little outdated right now. Something that is not as much as in demand as is another skill. Something that could be like, a prompt engineer. Something that is in demand in the market at the moment. That is something that would be lucrative. At the same point in time, if you're looking for something that is a little outdated, you could end up earning a little less.
So essentially, what I understand, Chidrup, from my own research is somebody, let's say, in the hospitality industry working on automation through AI would make much less than somebody who is working in a proper IT company, right? Why do you think that is? Why is it that people in different industries such as hospitality, medical industry, educational edtech industries get paid so much less for the same work that they would have done in an IT industry?
IT industry is one such industry which finds its presence across all the other industries. Let's say you're speaking about warehouse management in today's day. You have a lot of these delivery applications which are there. They would be having their dark stores. They would be having the requirement to understand when is the right time to, order inventory again. This is something that, just in time, these kind of mechanisms can be automated or optimized by the IT industry. It is true that a lot of other people from different industries could be working potentially harder when you speak about it in that terms, but the output is something that here matters, and the rendering of services to different industries as well. That is where I feel that that is the reason why IT industry, you find the employees there are paid a little higher than the other industries.
That's quite nice. Thank you for such an insightful answer, Chidrup. One question that is a burning question for me at the moment is there was a research done recently that realized AI has bias.
Mhm.
Because there is a human element, there's a contribution of a person working behind the scene. AI is now showing bias when it's doing resume tracking, resume filtering, and the resumes that are going out are predominantly a certain set of people, which may be the HR person who fed in the responses wanted, right? Do you think AI is going to reflect bias in hiring patterns in the next coming years? Or do you think this is something that would change in the next few years?
I can cite two incidents, one from the US, wherein ATS, was found to be, rejecting the applications of a particular uh, race or a community. And this case went to the court, and eventually a lawsuit was settled. And it was found that the people, the persons who was behind the development of that particular ATS system could be having a certain perspective in mind, which can take reflection in how the generative AI looks at us. And coming to a recent case in India, a hiring manager placed their own resume in front of the ATS, which got rejected. A hiring manager placing their own resume getting rejected. The entire HR team has been disbanded after that. When we are speaking about generative AI or any other such tools, we should have the human element. The resume could be rejected by the system, but does it contain something that could be valuable to my workforce? That is where my human element comes. It is here to augment my decision making.
That was again very insightful, Chidru. A lot of this talk that I've had with you is simply to understand what the industry would look like in the next few years. But what I also seem to, explore or wish to understand is somebody who is fresh out of college, somebody who has not yet begun the element of upskilling themselves. They don't really understand where to begin. What would you, as a hiring manager, say should be the benchmark for them to begin? Is it something as simple as an internship? Should they start looking at freelancing, doing some side projects? Should they seek out a mentor? Should they have somebody in the IT industry to sit down with them and say, this is what you need to do? What is it that they can start with, and why should they begin with this particular thing?
When you're speaking about the IT industry, there are multiple avenues where people can find career opportunities. It could be something like cybersecurity, could be something like AI, cloud architecture, all these kind of fields which open up coding or testing. What exactly is it that interests you? You might have attained graduation, but you need to understand where do you want to have a career. And in this direction, when you take up some courses and when you have some expert guidance along with an internship opportunity or some other live project, this is something that would help you establish a career path in that direction.
Okay, so Chidrup, I would like to close this conversation by asking a fairly simple question. Where should a non IT person begin? I am a person with HR experience. I am a person who has done instructional design. I can do multiple things with generative AI. I can automate multiple processes. I can make processes simpler than they are. Do you think I should begin with something that is similar to a degree, a certification course, or YouTube videos work for me as well?
See, all the options that you've presented right now, these are all legitimate ones, something that you can use to establish a career path there. But you also need to understand whether you really want to take that up. Maybe you would, want to outsource that to someone else who's an expert in that area, instead of you investing yourself a year time in that matter. But if you've already decided that, this is something that I can really explore, I have interest in, then I would say taking up a course would help you out, attaining a certification and an internship along with some more live experience. This would maybe help you out.
Okay, let me rephrase the question.
Mhm.
Which is more concrete? A degree, a certification, maybe an internship LOR, or YouTube videos?
Now see, I'd not change my answer, just because if all these options are available to you, you would want to maybe invest in something that is more concrete, maybe more holistic. Like let's say you want to have a degree experience, a degree, you want to study that in detail. It would take 3 to 4 years for you to understand. But if you do not want to invest that amount of time, it doesn't hurt in taking up a certification course. This could be a sure short path for you.
Understood. So it is really me who decides if I want to take a shortcut or if I
Exactly.
want to take a longer way out.
Yes.
Lovely. Finally, I think if you wish to get into the IT industry, from the
Mhm.
conversation, I've realized you need to have a very strong will, a
Mhm.
thick skin, and an ability to navigate very tough situations. Do you think there is something you might say to make it easy for people who are entering the workforce in the IT industry?
Like I mentioned earlier, in the IT industry, once you've decided you want to enter, be ready to keep learning again and again. Upskill frequently and stay up the curve.
So, Chidru, you are a hiring manager. You have understood the nitty gritty of who is a good fit for an IT industry role. Do you think you would look out for somebody who has an avid interest in maths, has done mathematics in some way, and would that be a preferred choice for you?
I'd say mathematics is an important subject in understanding patterns or trends that are depicted in data or hidden in data rather. So foundational level mathematics at least is something that is important. Something you need to have an understanding of correlation, regression, these kind of things to understand data science. So that would be my answer.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chidru, and I hope you had a pleasant conversation with us today. If you're interested in joining the Dinesh Academy, please do drop us a mail on the mail ID listed in the description box. Thank you.
Thank you.